It's GameFi Week here at CoinDesk, sponsored by Cadison, where we take a look at the past, the present, and future of Web3 gaming. Our next guest says NFTs and blockchain based games are transforming the way we connect with professional sports. Matt Novogratz, co founder of Candy Digital, joins us now. Hey, Matt.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Of course, we've been talking about games all week, but we have yet to connect them to professional sports. So I'm glad we're having this conversation to wrap up our theme week. Now, Matt, when I think about sports and crypto, I go back to when NBA Top Shot was like the talk of the town. Everyone was doing it. The basketball players were getting in. Um, the NFTs were growing in value. People were trading. Fans were super engaged. Talk to me about how things have progressed or changed since then.
Yeah, and we got started shortly thereafter Top Shot, and the landscape of things has changed a ton, right? I mean, I'm not sure the days of the $1 million PFP alliteratively named Animal Project is coming back anytime soon. But
Hmm.
the things it's given us everyone an opportunity to really build the rails for the future. Digital engagement and true ownership of these assets is only going to grow, right? Like I look at my 10-year-old who spends every dollar he has on Roblox, like his generation, like it's table stakes for them to have ownership of their gaming assets. Like they will not accept that. So for the past few years, we've been building those rails. We've been building more sustainable uh, business model. We've been building more features. We've been building. We're kind of what that next phase of this is, right? Like you can't just sell digital lottery tickets anymore. They've got to these things have to have built-in utility. You have to have a thought-out roadmap. And gaming really feels like the next big unlock.
I love talking to people about this who have kids because they understand it in such a different way. And that story has come up a lot of times in the interviews I do that people with children, their kids, they just want money that they can spend in Roblox. They're not interested in physical items anymore. If you're in a physical store like Costco or something, they want the gift card so that they can go home and spend that money. I'm just curious for you as a father, seeing this happen, I guess, through your child's eyes, has it given you a better understanding of what you're building and what the future looks like?
100%. In fact, uh, he's often like one of our first testers on some of the things we do.
Mhm.
And like myself, like I'm a traditional baseball card collector. I go to swap meets and conventions. I had a tough time seeing my kid doing that in 10 years or 15 years. So yeah, like it isn't crazy to me that people of his generation will put real value in these digital assets and these digital baseball cards in a different way than the speculative drivers of this first kind of bull rush did.
I'm so happy we're having this conversation today. We do this segment on CoinDesk called Chart of the Day, and yesterday, our Chart of the Day, we looked at ARG, Argentina Football Association's fan token. It soared after they beat Canada, and it pains me because I'm Canadian. But it was a really interesting use case to see that ARG, Argentina Football Club's fan token, is doing so well. It was like, wow, this is how fans are using some of these things to, I guess, like make bets on what their team is going to do. I know it does so much more, but talk to me a little bit about that news in relation to sports teams. Do you think we're going to see more teams adopt fan tokens, and how might we see fan tokens incorporated into the fan experience?
Yeah, fan tokens are an awesome idea, right? It kind of creates a DAO around a team in many ways. You can vote on uniform combinations, and one day maybe you can vote on trades and things like that. We're not quite there yet. I think it leads into whether it's fractional ownership of sports teams, where you really give fans a chance and a voice. You look at the European or the German soccer clubs; they're basically community owned, but the community doesn't really get any value out of it, other than they get to go to the games, they get to say this is my team. But if you actually put 20% of that team in a DAO or fractional structure where you could truly own and trade these shares, and then the fan really has a voice. That's where it's going to go.
Tell me a little bit more about that because we've seen, one of the big challenges with DAOs right now is that like incentivizing that engagement in a sustainable way has become something that DAOs are really focused on solving. I don't know if anyone has solved it yet. Like how do we get fans to want to participate on a long-term scale? Like, how do we continue to incentivize them to show up every day and participate in some of these activities that are now being handled by management teams?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to get more out of it than picking the fifth uniform combination.
Yeah.
It's got to be something more, and you have to get rewarded. Like the biggest fans, I'm not saying that the fan that spends the most should get rewarded, but the people that participate the most should have different access. Whether that's you scan your phone in and you have voted in the most votes, you're the most active participant in the DAO. Like maybe that upgrades your seat for the day. Um, there are different ways that you truly reward this engagement. And again, like I really think there will be a time where there'll be a seat at the table for the fan in the management side of things, whether that's the DAO has a proper board seat, but that's how you incentivize it.
This solution is being introduced in many different parts, I guess, of the sports and entertainment industry. Artists are starting to adopt Web3 technology for fan engagement in a similar way. And it's all about removing the middleman, distributing value, distributing power, right? And the question I ask people when we're talking about this with artists is there a place for the middleman? Is there a place for the publishers, the streaming services, the Hollywood studios? And so I guess my question to you is, does this displace team owners? Does this displace the big franchises and associations, or is there a way for everyone to work together towards this future?
Like I think it just enhances everything. Like when I
Mhm.
look at social media with athletes, it's pretty much a one-way relationship where they just send out a tweet and maybe people would, come back. And then I think it got so nasty that they stopped reading the replies. Uh,
Mhm.
what what Web3 allows for is truly like a one-on-one connection with your biggest fans. You know who your biggest fans are, and same with artists, right? If they can do it, they can take as much out of it as they want, but it's nice to have the publishing muscle behind you, the promotion behind you as well. So I think it's a great add-on, and a way to get deeper if you want to.
Tell me a little bit about the teams, the players, the franchises you're speaking with from your position at Candy. What kind of questions are they asking? Are they on board with this vision, or is it taking a little bit of convincing?
Yeah, everyone's a bit different. Some teams, some players were super early; they're very into it. Others a bit more skeptical. Some of the events of the past couple of years have led to a few more skeptics with some, less than great players in this space. But the true believers, they haven't wavered in their commitment to this, and they're continuing to grow. They know this is a longer vision. I think I always go back to this, like my favorite uh, use case of what this can become. If you have your Candy digital wallet, you scan into a game, and it says like I've got the most Tampa Bay Devil Rays NFTs, um, and they get you upgraded, like as I said earlier. And when talking to the Rays, for instance, like that's something that they're excited about. So some of the teams are very forward thinking, and they're constantly looking at ways to incorporate Web3 technology into the everyday fan experience.
Tell me a little bit more about that. We've talked about NFTs so far. We've talked about fan tokens. What do you think? Well, I guess you just told me about the use case, but like, tell me a little bit more about that killer use case, that thing that's going to bring Web3 to a mainstream sport audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's ticketing for sure. When you look at the Super Bowl, the get-in price is like 10 grand. The NFL sees none of that. They don't know who their audiences are, more importantly, right? So like all the big leagues, almost every ticket is sold in the secondary market. They have no idea who their fans are, their audience are. So how do you engage with them? How do you offer them exclusive deals? So ticketing is one thing, and it's also the one thing the fan misses. We've done commemorative ticketing with Major League Baseball for the last 3 seasons. It's by far our easiest way to onboard people into the space because it's something that they lack in the game day experience. They like it. Last year during the postseason, I think we onboarded close to 100,000 new users to Candy, and we also offered this ability to add in a moment or a memory from the game. Something like 35% of the people that downloaded one of these tickets or got one of these tickets added that memory in there, which is a staggering number because it wasn't like a super easy process. But it shows that that's what fans want. Fans want tickets. They don't care if it's an NFT necessarily, but it's a good way to kind of sneak them on to our side and introduce them to this world. And then once they're in, they might find out that they like digital baseball cards, or there's a game that we're offering on Candy.com that they want to give a try. And it's a very nice introduction. And I do think the sports leagues need it, and it's inevitable. They will have it.
Yeah, what you're describing to me almost sounds like the next iteration of social media, but it sounds so much more social, right? You get to share and experience in this community that really loves one of the things that you love. It just feels like a social experience with a little bit more substance than we're used to.
Yeah, for sure. And look, everybody doesn't have to get as deep as they want, but it's nice if it's there for you. It's great to be. I'm a huge Orioles fan. It's great to connect
Mhm.
with real Orioles fans, and you find out, and you can trade different art items with them. You tell stories, but it's a really it's true. And when you look at, you always talk about communities in Web3. Sports fans are kind of the original communities in America in many ways, right? Whether it's at a sports bar or a meetup, and this is just another offering that we think can really deepen that engagement.
You mentioned hundreds of thousands of people being onboarded through different sporting events. Do these people know that the Web3 tech is there, or has that been kind of abstracted away and hidden beneath the surface?
Yeah, we've definitely abstracted it intentionally early on. Now we're realizing that people are ready for a bit more. But I do think that for the big wave, for the next tens of millions of people to come in, it's going to have to be a super easy process where they don't necessarily need their own wallet right away. But it's more of an introduction to the space, and that's how we've uh, had the easy success. We've had programs that have been integrated within the Major League Ballpark app in the past, which you don't even know what you're doing. You're scanning your ticket in normally, and then all of a sudden you get this offer to redeem a ticket, which is pretty cool.
Now, before we wrap this up, tell me, is there one team, one association, one franchise, one player that has done this really well? Like, who stands out to you? Who do we look to for that real glowing example of what could be in the future?
You know, I, I kind of have to say Major League Baseball. We've done some really cool stuff, but outside of us, the Australian Open has done a really cool. Um, they had a really cool experiment a few years ago where you could own different pieces of the court. That was awesome. I still think Top Shot's doing some pretty cool stuff out there. The NBA is forward thinking. Major League Baseball sport are a very forward thinking organization. All of these leagues, they know that they need to get into Web3, and they're innovative groups, and I expect big things in the future.
Matt, thanks so much for sitting down with me as we wrap up game week.
Thanks a lot for having me.
And for any of you that want to read Matt's piece, that is on coindesk.com. This is the last day of GameFi week. So if you head on over to our website, you'll see a few videos and a bunch of articles that unpack where Web3 gaming is going and all the industries that it's touching. Head on over to coindesk.com now.